Hello and welcome to Every Persona Explained, where we take a look at the origin and representation of every persona. I'm your host Winwright, and today we're taking a look at Pallas Athena. Do I need to explain who Athena is? Greek goddess of war and wisdom. She has a cool shield associated with owls, turned directly into a spider, which is a bit out of character for her, thank you Ovid. Athena is well known enough that I don't think I need to explain who she is. But what does Pallas mean? Pallas is an epithet, or title that described what aspect the deity was being worshipped as. For instance, Apollo's epithet, Phoebus, describes his aspect of being the sun god. Zeus had ktipete, which I'm pronouncing wrong, and means descending, which referred to his tendency to hurl thunderbolts down onto the world. And one of my favorites, Aphrodite's epithet, Aria, meaning the warlike, which came from Sparta, where she was also a war goddess. Because Sparta. Unfortunately for us, Pallas does not have an agreed upon meaning or origin, because of course it doesn't. The story I was familiar with is the story where Athena is sparring with a friend of hers, a nymph named Pallas, who was the daughter of the river god Triton. Zeus was watching the match and wanted to ensure Pallas would lose. So he distracted her, and Athena accidentally killed her. Way to go, Dad. Athena was so upset by this that she took on the epithet Pallas in her memory and had the Palladium made. Wait, why does that sound familiar? Oh! Apparently, Palladium is the Latin word for the Palladian. The Palladium was a wooden statue of Pallas sacred to Athena that was housed in Troy and stolen by the Greeks during the Trojan War. And Palladian has quite a bit more going on than I thought, so it gets its own video. Pallas may also come from the name of a giant that Athena slew and flayed to make the Aegis. Why do you always do this when I'm recording? Come here. To top it all off, there's a number of proposed meanings to the name. The most common one is that it means to brandish, as in to brandish a spear, which would fit well because, war goddess. It also might mean young woman, but I don't have access to the source that says that, so I'm not sure about how valid it is. Walter Burkert, a scholar in Greek mythology, claimed that the name came from the city of Athens. Wait, what? In his 1985 book on Greek religion, he says that she is the Pallas of Athens, Pallas Athena, just as Hera of Argos is Hera Argiae, meaning that Pallas was the name of the goddess of Athens? Fun. And that's the Pallas part of Pallas Athena. So how is she represented in game? Athena actually goes all the way back to Persona 1, and man does this game not have enough resolution. From what I can tell, it's good. She has a horsehair Corinthian helmet, a common icon of Athena and Greek history in general. She's also holding what I think is a spear, another classic symbol of hers and an allusion to one of the possible meanings of Pallas. Her outfit looks like a dress, but it's possibly just the traditional Greek garment known as the himation, a standard form of dress for ancient Greeks. Yes, I thought it was a toga too. While initially worn by anyone, it eventually became a male garment. This may be an allusion to how Athena, despite being a female, held many masculine traits, like being a war goddess. Or it's just a generic Greek outfit, I don't know. Things change in the duology. Innocent Sin has her looking more like a European knight with plate armor and a sword, but like red. Eternal Punishment seems to be a kind of middle ground between the two. She's got the helmet and spear back, also the toga / himation / generic dress, but also she has a European kite shield and maybe some pauldrons. This design does skew a little from tradition, but I think it's really good. And if they ever remake these games, I hope they keep this design. I really like it. Now for what you're actually here for. P3. It's really good. She has most of the same elements as her other designs, helmet, spear, dress, but it's elevated, largely thanks to the game not being made of 7 pixels. The big shield ring thing is obviously not an authentic Greek shield, but it does have a big face on the front, just like the Aegis. The chest armor she's wearing also has a face on it, and while it's hard to make out, I think it's Medusa's face. This was also a symbol of Athena and adorned the front of the Aegis. Athena is in the Justice Arcana in P1 and the Duology, and Chariot and everything else. Justice works well as she was the one who upheld law and justice in Athens. And in the play Eumenides by Aeschylus, an ancient Greek playwright, she plays the part of a judge in court. I'd also argue that the inverted justice could work to represent how fickle she could be, like in Ovid's tellings of Arachne and Medusa. Chariot works too, with its meanings of success, motivation, and perseverance. Not only was she a goddess of wisdom and war, she would often intervene on behalf of Greek heroes like Perseus to ensure they succeeded in their efforts. Her movesets, unfortunately, fall short. For elemental attacks, she gets electric, which would make sense with her being Aegis's persona, but she doesn't get any after the duology, so maybe it was just to fill out things in the earlier games? Q2, oddly enough, gives her nuclear moves, which also fit well with her being Aegis's persona. She does get a lot of physical moves across her appearances, but they're mostly strike or sword moves, which... She has a spear, why? Reload does give her some pierce moves, which is a better fit, but it's still not much. Of the fitting moves, P1 has a skill called Steel Wall, which reduces incoming damage. You know, a steel wall. Like a shield. Innocent Sin gives her a skill called Bright Judgment, which leans into her justice duties. And in Q1 she gets Aegis Shield, a passive that may nullify certain elemental moves. It's named after her shield and protects from many things. That's a good skill. Why isn't it in Reloaded? Her trait is called Grace of the Olive and cuts the cost of moves to 0 during a 1 more. First off, damn that's strong. Second, the name alludes to the olive tree, I know, shocking, which is a symbol of Athena. Before Athens had a chief god, Athena and Poseidon attempted to gain the city's favor by bestowing them with a gift. Poseidon struck the ground with his trident and a saltwater spring formed, which is nice, I guess, but Athena gifted the city a sacred olive tree. One of these is more useful than the other, and Athena was selected as chief deity. This made olive trees super important to Athens, and there was even a sacred olive tree in the Acropolis, believed to be descended from the original one. And there's still olive trees in the Acropolis today, which is wild. For items, Royal either gives the Kugelbane or Kugelbane R, which I'm pronouncing wrong. This is German and translates to ballpoint leg, making this a reference to Aegis. She does also have a Picaro form, which hasn't come up yet because it's just Goth Athena, and she gives a card for either charge or concentrate. You could argue that these fit better with Athena's military focus, but I think they're pretty weak. According to the SMT wiki, she can also give you the Caesar armor in P1, but it would have been a better pick if Aphrodite gave it, since Rome saw her as their founder through her son Aeneas and his descendants Romulus and Remus, and Caesar specifically believed he was descended from them as well. Staying in P1 for a moment, she does have more connections. If you have her equipped and encounter an Arachne, there's a chance you'll be able to talk to it. She's also made from a special fusion of Arachne and Scylla, another great monster, using the olive necklace totem. Fun. Overall, I'd say it's pretty decent. Design-wise, she's stellar, but many of her other categories fall a bit flat. I think epithets are really interesting to learn about, because there's a common view of ancient Greece, and really I think probably every ancient culture, that this is how it was, and this is how it always was for the hundreds or maybe thousands of years of the culture's duration, which is not true. And Greek mythology wasn't even consistent throughout all of Greece. For instance, Aphrodite's epithet of Aria being only found in Sparta because it's Sparta. The same god being worshipped in different areas would get different epithets based on the local culture. And while Pallas is, I believe, the most popular epithet for Athena, my personal favorite is Athena Promachos, or Athena who fights on the front line, because that sounds way cooler than Athena who brandishes a spear. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Let me know who you want to see next time in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Every Persona Explained.